Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Walking Between Shadows. We're your host. I'm Ben.
I'm Taryn.
And this week, we've got kind of a throwback case we got to bring back up. It's that time. We've been waiting on this for what, over a year now?
Yeah, we have. Well,
Yeah.
actually, I've been watching this case since 2011, so I'm pretty excited about what's coming up.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting because it's going to kick off here in the next few days. And yeah, we're going to keep coverage of this. Don't think we're going to do any remote lives or anything like that, but we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about this.
Yeah, and baby, we've had a lot of crap going on the last few days, haven't we?
Month.
It has been a month. Oh my God.
It's been a month. I don't know where you're going with the days.
Well, I'm
But,
just trying to shorten up the impact, I guess.
Yes, it's been a hectic and wonderful, in some aspects, month. It's been busy. It seems like May's been a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does. It's almost over. It's Memorial Day today, so happy Memorial Day to everyone.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day.
And yeah, so we went down to Tennessee and we've been to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been busy. Had our seventh grandchild, second grandson.
Wow, 7, really? Oh my God.
Yes. We welcomed little baby Alexander Michael Dudley on the 18th, on the 18th of May.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 pounds, 7 ounces. Very healthy little boy, though. Funny little thing. And I'm excited to see him again.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, what else we had going on?
So we also took a trip to Canada.
Oh, Canada. We sure did.
We did. We went and got my sister. So she has been in Canada for, 20 years?
Almost to the day
Yeah.
that we went up there.
Yeah. So we went and got her and brought her home.
Yeah.
She stayed with us for a couple weeks and she's getting settled in.
Yep.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Well, we did have a warm welcome home for Tori, and yeah, it's very exciting.
It was a scary time for us for a minute with her.
Yeah.
But she is safe now and she is home. So that's good.
Yeah.
Very good.
So, and the case that we're talking about is Karen Swift and David Swift. David's accused of murdering his wife.
Yeah.
Hunters found her body near a Dyersburg cemetery back in December of 2011, 6 weeks after she was first reported missing. Brad Brodeur spoke with a longtime friend of Swift's in Dyersburg, who's relieved and a bit stunned after David's arrest.
One of Karen Swift's longtime friends since elementary school admitted she pretty much lost faith such an arrest would ever be made before this significant break in a more than decade-old cold case.
Still a little in shock. I had kind of given up.
Even though Karen Swift died in 2011, Janet Ross still remembers her friend's personality vividly and fondly.
She was just the kind of friend you want to have. She was a lot of fun. She was witty. She was kind.
That's why Swift's unsolved murder affected Ross so greatly for so long.
For the first few years, it consumed me every day. That's all I could think about, and I knew that wasn't good for me or my health or my family.
Hunters discovered Swift's body near this Dyersburg cemetery 3 miles from her home in December 2011, 6 weeks after being reported missing and 9 weeks after she filed for divorce from her husband, David Swift. He's now indicted and charged with her murder.
We're glad that it looks like maybe justice is being served, but this is very traumatic for their children.
Dyer County Sheriff Jeff Bach said, "We have literally spent thousands of hours on this case, and a lot of that time was spent dispelling false information and rumors. Our investigators never gave up and just kept going through the evidence, and I want to sincerely thank them for their diligence in this case."
The authorities in Dyersburg had all of these years had been telling Karen's mother that this was not a cold case. They were still working on it. that there would be justice.
Still, for Ross, David Swift's arrest felt bittersweet, considering the 4 children involved.
They lost their mother 11 years ago, and now it looks like they could be losing their dad. And this is not really a happy day.
And so give me some thoughts about where your head's been for a little over a year now with this.
A little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since 2011, when this took place, there's been so many rumors. This happened in an area that we are from.
Yeah, Dyersburg, Tennessee.
Yes,
And
Dyersburg,
so
Tennessee.
Dyersburg is northwest Tennessee, and it's just across the border from the Boot Hill of Missouri.
Yeah. And so over the last actually 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
really been following it because there has been a suspect that has been arrested, and now the trial begins tomorrow in
Yeah.
Weakley County. So it's pretty exciting, and I want to go over all this and everything we know so far.
Yeah, they're having the case in the big town of Dresden.
Tiny. I mean, how big is Dresden?
I would say it's maybe about the same size as Trenton, so about 4,000 or 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dresden's not a bad town though. I went to college at Martin, at UT Martin.
Yeah.
And Dresden's just 15 minutes away or less, and it's the county seat for Weakley County. And I really never had a bad experience there. It's mostly good folks.
Right. So yeah, the past 2 years.
Mhm.
I can say before that, from 2011 until 2022, the rumors will get to you,
Yeah.
and the speculation and all the things that were heard and things that were brought out during this case and during the investigation of this case that made me think one way at first
Yeah.
and another way now, and still kind of wondering if it's connected in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. They've been real hush hush since they arrested David Swift.
Yeah.
And so the rumor mills just keep on going because nobody knows anything that they really have on him. It's going to be interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So, and I'll read a quick article to kind of get everybody in line of where it is.
Mhm.
A judge is granted a change of venue in the trial of a Dyer County man charged with killing his wife in 2011. So this was shortly on or about Halloween of
Right.
2011, right?
Yeah, this happened. Karen Swift was last seen at a Halloween party at the Dyersburg Country Club.
Mm-hmm.
And after that party, she goes and picks her youngest daughter up at a friend's house.
David Swift pled not guilty to first-degree murder following his indictment in August of 2022, more than a decade after his wife was killed. Karen Swift, a mother with 4 children, was reported missing on October 30th, 2011, 3 weeks after she had filed for divorce from her husband. Hunters found her body near a Dyersburg cemetery on December 10th, 2011, 6 weeks after she was reported missing and 9 weeks after she had filed for divorce. Prosecutors said David Swift was the last person to see his wife alive when she returned home from a Halloween party. Following the indictment, more than 11 years after her death, David Swift was arrested in Birmingham, Alabama, where he was living after being remarried. If convicted, David Swift faces up to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Changes in venue are typically granted to ensure an unbiased jury pool. So that's pretty well
Yeah.
what's going on with the case right now.
Yeah, I
But
think there
let's-
was too many rumors going on for it to stay in Dyersburg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go back through this. I mean,
Let's go back. Let's talk a little bit about Karen and David even. They had been married twice before for 22 years.
they've been married once before.
Well, once
Right.
once before, that's right. And they were working on their second marriage and their second divorce.
yeah.
So Karen stayed at home and kept her kids. I don't know what David's career was. Do you know?
No.
I have no idea, but they had a nice place. They had a really nice home. Karen was an avid runner, ran 5K marathons, was active doing that even in school, and married David in September of 1989. They had 4 children together, Preston and Dustin. At the time in 2011, I believe both of those boys were in college.
Mm-hmm.
and 2 daughters, Ashley and Keely, that were still at home with Karen and David.
Yeah.
There was a lot of cheating during these marriages. I believe both their first marriage and during their second.
Mm-hmm.
But there was never any accusations of domestic violence. So that's something, that kind of got me from the get go.
Right.
But Karen did file for divorce 3 weeks before she went missing from that or after that Halloween party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me follow this.
Okay.
They had gotten married in 1989 originally
Right.
and divorced for a very short period of time and gotten remarried.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it kind of makes you question, was she just dependent on him? And did he not allow her to leave that first time?
Yeah.
22 years is a long time.
Yeah, because I mean, we don't know what she did either, right?
No, like I said, I believe she was a stay-at-home mom and completely devoted to her children.
Yeah, and if anybody watching this knows the answer to those questions, please leave it in the comments.
Yes, please do. I do know that, like I said, there was a lot of affairs that went on during this time, and when Karen went missing, she was seeing a few people, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, she admitted to it as well as he did too. It
Right.
wasn't a secret.
Right. And someone paid for her divorce. So when she filed for divorce 3 weeks before she went missing, somebody gave her $10,000 to do that.
So this is where rumor mill number 1 starts flying in the face of another group of people there, the cells.
Mm-hmm.
And, there were accusations that, one of the cells might have paid for this divorce.
And let's talk about them. This is a very wealthy family.
Mm-hmm.
Very wealthy. And from my understanding, one of them was having an affair with Karen Sells at the time. I don't know if this sales guy was paid for this divorce, but it seems like it could have been that way. Like I said, this was a family with a lot of money, a lot of pull, and a lot of power in Dyersburg.
Yeah.
And the night of the Halloween party, so October 29th of 2011, Karen's at the party, and she gets in an altercation with a married woman at the country club.
Do we know who this married woman is?
A week later, the cameras were stolen and the videos were stolen from this country club.
Okay. Again, do we know who this woman was?
We do not know. We do not know who this woman was. We've heard plenty of rumors. Don't know if it was, don't know who it was.
Yeah, just keep the rumor mill going.
Right. And like I said, I'm anxious to see what comes out during this trial.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Of who this may have been that night, if they even know who this may have been. But
yeah, we can't find anything where the sheriff or anybody investigated the camera theft at the country club.
No.
They just kind of brushed that off.
Right. So Karen goes home and she gets into bed, and somebody calls her. Don't know. We don't know if someone called her, wanted her to leave, at 1:00 in the morning. But on October 30th, when Karen was reported missing by her husband, David Swift, they found her vehicle about a mile from her home with a shredded tire, and her purse was missing out of the vehicle.
Well, the tire was just flat.
Was it just? I thought it was shredded. Either one, flat, shredded, one of the two.
Well, shredded would indicate somebody probably did something crazier to it, or it was driven a long way without any air in it.
Yeah, could have been.
And so nobody's been clear about this stuff.
Nobody. Mm-mm. And where's her purse? Like that. I don't know if that's been found. It could be found maybe back at her house, and that could have led to some of the, some of the guilt on David.
Yeah.
But 6 weeks later, on December the 10th, Karen's body, partially decomposed, was found in the kudzu at Bledsoe Cemetery, which was about 3 miles from her and David's home.
Yeah, so everybody knows what kudzu is.
Mm-hmm.
Kudzu is a prolific vining plant, and it
Right.
was brought over from China many years ago to help with stabilizing soils and keeping soils from washing away and stuff like that. But it was good intentions and bad judgment.
Shit.
It turns out it's a pest,
Mm-hmm.
and it just takes over land and stuff. So when you go to where this cemetery was, there's just spots of it that are being kept managed or have been kept managed over the years. But this stuff is thick. Like
Yes.
it feet thick.
And I remember seeing it growing up all through Tennessee.
Mhm.
On the side of the road, I always thought if you drive off in that, will
Yeah.
anybody see you?
Yeah.
I mean, like, really?
Right.
Because
Right. It's that thick.
You don't know what you're falling down into
Yeah,
or how
I mean,
deep it is.
Yeah, it grows up and like pulls down 100-year-old oak trees. It's just so wild.
Right. So Karen's body was found in that kudzu on December the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
There was a search that was done in that area just a month before, like in November, and she was not found there. So, that there was a lot of speculation of, at first, people were saying that Karen's body was not really decomposed enough for it to be out there as long as it was for 6 weeks,
Right.
and that it may have been moved there from somewhere else.
Like where? Because this is another big rumor on.
It's almost like I don't even want to talk about that rumor, but there was rumors that she was stored in a freezer at some of these places that.
Yeah, restaurants that the Sales family owned.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is devastating for this family. If this is not true, I mean, this is terrible. But we'll get into that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, an autopsy was done on Karen's body, and it came back that her toxicology was just like Benadryl, a little bit of alcohol, and that's it.
Normal. Yeah.
She was very fit, beautiful woman too.
Yeah, she was a runner, right?
Right, very healthy. Healthy, beautiful woman, and she had blunt force trauma to the head. So the matter of death was ruled as a homicide.
Mm-hmm.
But some things that went on before that bring the Sales into this, is like Karen telling her best friend a couple weeks before she went missing that someone paid this divorce for her.
Yeah.
And that she now had the police in her back pocket, which is interesting. And her friend asked her, what do you have to do for that? And Karen said, there's definitely a price to pay. I'm sure she didn't think it would be this.
Well, and she also told her that she'd gotten herself involved in multiple affairs.
Uh-huh. And so there's a lot of things that went on, around the time. But so all these rumors are going on. And there's even some extortion that went on during the investigation over all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben, we learned a little bit about that today.
Well, I think it's important to say that, here Karen had been found and all of this information was coming to light kind of as the parties saw fit.
Mm-hmm.
And then lo and behold, a private investigator shows up.
Out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's where you are going with that last statement is, this person showed up and started investigating every matter, and even went to the police and said, look, you've got a stack of hundreds of cases you're dealing with. I understand that you don't have time, but I do.
That's right.
And I'm going to turn every rock, every stone, every anything over to try to find out what happened to Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that rocked the Dyer County Sheriff's Department back on their heels.
Yes,
from the get-go. And so, and she did diligent work.
Yes.
But all along, everybody in the community was wondering, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
How are you here?
Yeah.
who is responsible for getting you here? And that's part of the rumor mill too. You know,
Like, who's paying the bill for you to research all this and investigate all this?
right. And this person was claiming that it was pro bono work.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the rumor mill goes wild again. I don't know about this. I don't know if she's here pro bono for real, or maybe somebody did in fact pay her. So yeah, let's kind of run through that.
Okay.
You know, Karen had been found.
Mm-hmm.
All the speculation about, you know, how she got there and, you know, why she wasn't in the state of decomposition she should have been in if she'd been there the whole time.
Yeah.
And then this private investigator shows up
Yes.
and starts flipping these rocks over.
Right. Yeah.
And-
Absolutely putting up,
Yeah.
putting up some suspicions
Mm-hmm.
for sure. And I feel like maybe this private investigator found out who paid for the divorce.
Yeah.
And who she was having her affairs with.
Mm-hmm.
And now, from my understanding, I listened to her podcast today. We both did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just on the extortions charges and the things that went on during this investigation. And
Yeah.
I'm not even sure when this took place, when the extortion, but I think it was pretty early on. Is that right?
No, I think it was several years
Okay.
because it went to the extortion went to trial in like 2014.
Okay. So it was very early. So it wasn't just a couple years.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, a couple years.
Yeah. So again, any listeners, watchers out there that know any of the facts of that case, feel free to leave comments.
We heard a phone call in between the sales, right?
Yeah.
And an attorney. And this attorney was trying to extort them out of $25,000. Am I correct?
No.
No?
We heard a call between the sales and somebody who claimed to know all of the information, including what implicated someone in their family. And he was willing to tell them everything as long as they paid $25,000 through an attorney.
Mhm.
And that attorney was going to set this up so that they were protected by attorney-client privilege
Okay.
if the sales agreed to pay the $25,000. And so the conversations we heard was the first one was between the sales and the rat, the guy that knew everything.
So it was the father. It was Darren and Daryl Sales is who we heard on these calls.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in that phone call, he was saying, "Yeah, I know everything. You gotta talk to my lawyer. I'm not telling you anything right now until you talk to my lawyer and get all that set up."
Mm-hmm. And this was the investigator that was saying this.
The investigator,
But I'm sorry. Who was saying that they got all this information?
the rat.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry. My mind went off. I was thinking it was the. Okay, I got you.
No. So let me set this up for you again.
Okay.
Darren Sales and what's the other one?
Daryl.
Okay, Daryl and Darren.
Yeah, DD.
Yeah, and Daryl's the dad.
Daryl's the dad. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what happened in that phone call was Daryl Sales was talking to someone who claimed to know all of the inside information, including information that may implicate somebody in his family as being part of this Karen Swift issue.
Mm-hmm.
And in that call, he was basically, so Mr. Sales was basically poking at him like, what do you know? What do you know? What do you know? And the guy said, I'm not telling you anything until you get it set up with my lawyer,
Gotcha.
Sam. Okay. So they basically end that call on the note that the Sales have to pay $25,000 for this guy to tell them everything he knows.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to go through his lawyer, Sam.
Yes.
So the next phone call was with his lawyer, Sam,
Yes.
who was representing the rat.
Right.
Okay. And Sam said, yes, I'm going to do it this way because that then puts attorney-client privilege between me and him, and the feds cannot force he or I to say anything.
Okay.
They can't get any information out of us.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, on that call with the lawyer, both Daryl and Darren
Mhm.
were on that phone call with Sam, the lawyer, who was representing the rat.
Yes.
And the lawyer actually starts to tell them some things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't tell them the whole story, but he begins to basically wet their whistle to more or less make them understand that he does have this information and this guy is trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer goes on to say that the rat, Mark,
Yeah.
had done this for him in the past. And, you know, he was very trustworthy. Everything worked out with cases in the past that they had together. Now, this is the lawyer talking to Daryl and Darren at the same time, explaining to them that this guy was trustworthy
Mm-hmm.
and that they needed to come up with the $25,000. And Daryl asked several times, "What do you want? Will you take a check? Will you take less money?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, give it to somebody whose ass is in the ringer to try to bargain their way down."
Bargain their way out of it.
Yeah. But anyway, so the guy says, well, you know, cash works better. The lawyer says, well, cash works better for me. But yeah, I can take a check. I can work through that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I can work with that.
Well, I mean, he had to form some sort of contract with the rat known as Mark
Yes.
in order to be able to create attorney-client privilege between the two of them.
Right. So I can remember them, you know, like this Sam, the attorney, saying, you know, I didn't even know. I don't care what happens with this. I don't know this
Not
woman.
interested,
Not
yeah.
interested in this case at all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could care less.
Yeah, because there was a lot of talk about whether or not Sam or Mark knew Karen Swift.
That's right.
And Mark seemed to know her
Mm-hmm.
or know of her,
Mm-hmm.
but the lawyer did not.
Yeah. I think Mark, the rat, said that she would run. He'd see her running sometimes.
Mhm.
That's about it.
Stop in a store and get a Pepsi,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. But then it goes into Darren and Daryl's cells saying, well, I don't know that woman at all. And I wasn't there.
Yeah, Darren admitted right then. He said, well, I wouldn't know anything. I wasn't even there.
Right.
Okay.
Right. It just makes me wonder, you know, then why were you even on the phone call with this man?
Well, the point of fact here too was during all this conversation, they were trying to get rid of the private investigator.
That's true.
And Daryl asked several times about, you know, how they could get rid of her, or, you know, if in fact she knew certain things that she was baiting them with.
Right. He wanted to know what he could do, anything short of bashing her head in, is what he said.
That's right.
And to me, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this. That's disgusting. It's disgusting because no woman should feel scared to do her job, no matter who she's working for.
Yeah.
And this even happened in the courtroom.
Yeah.
There was even threatening things said to this private investigator woman out of Nashville by Daryl Sells, and it was heard by some of law enforcement.
What's her name? That case is public record. So
Yeah.
what's her name?
Heather Cohen.
Heather Cohen.
Yes.
Yeah. Very good private investigator.
Yes.
Has done a lot of great work over her career.
That's right. And, you know, she was accused of being hired by David Swift. She still says that it's not true.
Yeah, that was part of the rumor, was that David Swift and the sheriff were paying her.
Right.
And in the conversation between Mike, Daryl, and Darren, Mike brought up that he could not take this information to the sheriff's department.
Right.
At all.
That's right.
Because apparently he knew that was part of the arrangement, that David Swift, Karen's husband, and the sheriff were working to pay the private investigator to come in
And throw up all these
roadblocks. Yes.
And supposedly David Swift and the sheriff went to church together. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they made mention in that call that they went to, I think they said something along the lines of that newfangled church out there at the fairgrounds, you know, and I don't know.
Right.
I don't get involved in that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was mentioned too.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're just at an extortion case where it seems like this guy was trying to extort money from the cells,
hmm
claiming that he knew a bunch of stuff.
And a lot of these witnesses through this were threatened with guns by people
Mm-hmm.
and phone calls. And, you know, I'm not saying who did that because I don't know. I just know that Heather Cohen said that if she would have known what she was getting into before she started this case, she would have never done this.
Right.
Never.
Right.
So she's been given hell.
Yep.
And I don't know about the Sales family, but I'm pretty sure they've been given hell through this too. And that's why I'm anxious to see the involvement in this through this trial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So all right, we're basically 2 or 3 years post discovery of the body.
Right.
We've gone through this extortion stuff.
hmm
What was David Swift doing in the time after Karen died?
So David, about a year after Karen was found dead, he and the two daughters moved about an hour away to where was it, Arkansas or Alabama?
Yeah, Conway, Arkansas.
Conway,
was where
Arkansas?
They first moved to. Yeah.
Okay. So they moved there. And I believe that's where Karen is buried too, if I'm correct. She's in Arkansas. And about 5 years after this, he gets married. David Swift marries his second wife and moves to Alabama. I think pretty close to the coast, right?
Well, it was Birmingham.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he moves to Birmingham. He's married to this woman. And I heard from one of their neighbors actually when we did our first podcast. And she said that Preston and Dustin, the two older boys, never came to see their dad.
Yeah.
After he married his second wife, and that the daughters weren't allowed to go see her there at her headstone or speak of her. So no one was allowed to speak of her.
Yeah.
And in, was it August of 2022, David Swift was indicted on first-degree premeditated murder of Karen Swift.
Mm-hmm.
And he's picked up and he's put on a $200,000 bond.
Mm-hmm.
But right before he is arrested, his wife, his second wife, files for divorce.
Yeah.
And so he gets in, he's put in jail and he's put on this $200,000 bond and he's able to pay that and get out.
Yeah.
And so he's out in 2022 and awaiting trial. And his second wife charges him with stalking. Turns out that he had an air tag put on her car
Mm-hmm.
and she went to file a restraining order. And this was in July of 2023.
Mm-hmm.
She goes and files a restraining order and says, I'm scared for my life because he did the exact same thing to his wife, Karen Swift, before she died. And when she filed for divorce, he stalked her and he killed her.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to see if she's going to be one of the witnesses
Yeah.
that comes for this, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, all we're doing is speculating on it,
Yeah.
but it sure sounds eerily familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And, this guy was real controlling. I mean, he wouldn't even let his kids talk about their mother.
Right. Which is a indication for sure.
Yeah.
That he's had major involvement in this.
Yeah. And they weren't allowed to go visit her grave after a certain time, right?
And I'm not really sure how much he kept them from their grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
Karen's parents.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah.
So what wound up happening? The girls were the younger of the four.
Mhm. Mhm.
What's there? Do you know anything about them
I
now?
do not know. Now that's been so long, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at years ago, years ago, and 13 years. So they're grown.
Yeah.
They're probably adults now or young adults.
Yeah.
And so starting their life. And what a terrible way to
Yeah.
have to look back at your father.
Yeah.
And not even be able to remember your mother as much as she put into those children.
Mm-hmm.
You think about how much time Karen gave to those kids, 22 years to that marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And he could not handle her leaving. He couldn't do it.
All the while, both of them are cheating on each other.
It just is odd.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, when she divorced him the first time, was he stalking her? Was he stalking her and threatening her? Or did
Yeah.
he just have all the money and she didn't have any control? And the second time around, he lost some control whenever she got with someone that had money to pay for this divorce.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that made him lose control,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And she could have said to him, you know, hey, look, I've got somebody that's paid for this divorce. I don't need you. I don't need you.
Yeah.
And he realizes she doesn't.
Yeah.
And I'm going to lose this. And I don't want to. I don't know what kind of mind, you know, somebody has that would hold a woman back like that. But evidently he had it. And we're going to find out all the details of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, just to remind everybody, Karen Swift disappeared on Halloween of 2011. And in the meantime, the rumor mills have produced a lot of fireworks with a lot of people in that area, especially the not just her family, but the Sells as well. And we've finally gotten around to the fact that her husband was arrested on premeditated murder charges, and his case begins this week.
Yeah.
In Dresden, Tennessee.
Yeah. And I just want to say, don't come for us. Don't come for us when we name off names. We're just stating the facts of this and everything that is public.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to make sure I put that out there.
Well, I mean, if it's all a matter of public record at this point. We haven't mentioned anything that's not part of the public
Oh,
record.
absolutely not.
So,
but I still like to say that because I have my opinions on this.
Yeah.
And just from the way that Heather Cohen was treated, yeah, it scares me. It scares me to think that people that have that kind of money can have that kind of power too
Mm-hmm.
over even the law.
Mm-hmm.
So who's protecting us?
Well, I mean, you got to remember, apparently her husband was in cahoots with the law. It wasn't the Sells.
But that's rumor too. And we don't really know that.
That's what I'm saying. The rumor mill says all this crap.
Right. So, I mean, I think it's a great idea that they move this out of Dyersburg,
Yes.
because I feel like too many of those people, especially with that kind of money, you can get in anybody's ear. I don't even know if they moved it far enough away.
Yeah. What's Dyersburg? About 20,000 people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not big.
No.
No, not at all. And I mean, like I said, we don't know what he did for a living. I wish I did.
Right.
But I don't know what David Swift did for a living. But he was able to move around and pay bonds and,
Yeah.
marry and
Yeah.
take care of his family. It looks like pretty well.
Well, and that's why we lend ourselves to our listeners. If anybody out there knows any of these facts or knows any information, please don't hesitate to leave it in the comments under this video.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. Well, I want to remind everybody that, here we are, we're back. We love what we do, and we keep having to come back. It seems like life throws us resets about every 30 to 60 days.
Right.
But don't forget to hit like and subscribe and the notifications bell so you know when new stuff comes out. We love what we do, and we love to hear from you. I want to mention, too, that CrimeCon's coming up in Nashville pretty soon. We're not going to get to attend this year, but hopefully looking forward to 2025.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Anyway, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you soon.
See y'all.
Bye.